Also, it's a bit interesting that sometimes Mark is identified as the young man who followed Jesus on the night of his arrest, clad in nothing but a linen cloth about his body. So it's like a lot of things in the Bible. There's various interpretations. Personally, I like that Mark joined Peter in Rome and interpreted Peter's reminiscence. It sounds good to me. The main things Mark tells us about Jesus are, and it's not in our lesson, so I want to read Mark 1:1. The beginning of the gospel about Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Keep this in the back of your mind. We'll touch back on that later. Item 1, Jesus is identified as the Son of God. In all four Gospels, Jesus often identifies himself as the Son of Man. So Mark identified him as the Son of God. As Jesus used it, is referred not to his humanity, but to his designation as someone with special authority from God and in the age to come. Mark tells us he has the good news, that is gospel, of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Second, Mark declares that Jesus was the Messiah. When he added the title Christ after the name Jesus, Christ is a Greek equivalent of the Hebrew word Messiah. Would a Greek scholar care to elaborate on that? Do we have a Greek scholar? I see someone smiling a little bit. Okay. Yet, although Mark states Jesus' messianic identity right up front and never keeps it a secret from the reader, Jesus himself in Mark seems intent on keeping that aspect of his personhood quiet, at least during the time of his public ministry. Mark shows Jesus forbidding the demons he cast out and people he helped from disclosing his identity as a Messiah. Question: why did Jesus not want to be known as a Messiah when he was doing his teaching?
He did or did not?
He did not. He did not want people to know he was the Messiah.
Some say that he knew that his time for that revelation had not come.
Okay.
Their idea of Messiah was someone who was going to come and free them from the Romans. That was going to be more like a military king as a savior. So Jesus didn't want them to get the wrong idea, I think.
That's part of it.
The other part is he wanted to live long enough so he could get his message out. And in the early days, he fled out of the Jerusalem area and went up to Galilee. So he'd be away from the attacks that would probably have come to him.
Good. Another point is that according to the prophets, the Messiah would die and then be resurrected. So Jesus did not want himself to be considered the Messiah until after his death and resurrection. That ring a bell with anybody? Okay. Item 3, recognize Jesus as unique teacher who instructed as one having authority and not of the scribes. Here, this is kind of what I believe Viola said. Some of the expectations about the Messiah were that he would be a mighty commander who would call troops to overthrow the ruling power. Jesus was a Messiah of a different sort. However, coming to initiate God's kingdom, that even his closest followers could not fully understand the fact until after both Good Friday and Easter. In other words, the secrecy was a temporary measure until they could see the big picture and understand his role as a bringer not of material might, but of salvation. Okay, that was part of item number 2. Got ahead of myself. Third, Mark recognized Jesus as a unique teacher, as one having authority, not as the scribes. The scribes were the biblical scholars of the day, but when Jesus spoke about God, his words had the weight of truth in ways that the scribes' words did not. Mark understood the ministry of Jesus as calling the rest of us to discipleship. Jesus said, "If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up the cross and follow me." Fifth, shows Jesus' death on the cross as the will of God. 3 times in Mark, you read that Jesus told his disciples he would be killed and rise again. That's verses 8:31, 9:31, 10:33 to 34. Sixth, Mark understood Jesus' death as an atoning act. He quoted Jesus saying, "For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, to give his life as a ransom for many." That's a little bit about Mark. Any questions on Mark that I probably can't answer, but I'll try?
What was Mark's profession?
He was a young man who may have followed Jesus before his crucifixion.
Yeah, did he come out of a wealthy family?
Yes.
He did?
Mom said
He did come out of a wealthy family?
Yeah. And Luke was the physician, I think.
yes. Matthew was a tax collector.
So Mark was just a devoted rich guy.
He's devoted. He's well-to-do.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you all. Now to the lesson. Would somebody, let's see, lesson today, Jesus is the Messiah, purpose to realize that claiming Jesus as Lord, excuse me, to realize that claiming Jesus as Lord requires actions as well as words. Would somebody please read verses 31 to 33, the first paragraph? No, I'm sorry.